Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Athlete Group Chat with Gianna Kataya. Today we have a very special guest, Phia Gladieux. She is a junior on the Penn State Field Hockey team. You might have heard her name because she is one of the biggest athletes on campus. You might know her for being amazing at field hockey, NIL, TikTok. She does it all, so welcome, Phia.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for being on the show. So I mentioned this, you're a big star on campus, two-time NFHCH Mid-East Player of the Year, Big Ten Championship. You just won that. You got Big Ten Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year for the Big Ten. You have all those accolades. But before we even get into Penn State and Penn State Field Hockey, can you tell me how you got into field hockey? Because I feel like that's such a niche sport.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, field hockey is not very popular here in America. But I kind of started in third grade. My sister started playing before me. She's 3 years older than me. So she started playing, followed in her footsteps. We have a really good youth program in Ole, and I just started there. All my friends did it. Super fun. I played other sports growing up. I played soccer, softball, track, all that. But field hockey I just loved more than anything else, and I just kind of became obsessed with it almost a little bit too much when I was younger, but I have
Not
to
a bad thing.
Yeah, no, not a bad thing. I have to thank my younger self for where I am today. But yeah, I just kind of stuck with it. We have a really good high school program, amazing coaches there, and I played club at Excalibur, which a lot of the girls on Penn State now played for previously, and all my friends played there. So, just club. I did some USA stuff growing up and, found myself here at Penn State.
It's always the club that gets you hooked onto it and everything like that. Did your older sister play in college, or are you the first one in the fam?
So she played all throughout high school. She didn't play club. She didn't play college. She just kind of did it to do it for fun, and she stuck out, committed with it. But she actually did come to Penn State, so she was a senior when I was a freshman here, so that was fun to, be able to experience a little bit of college with her. But yeah, no, I'm the first person in my family to...
I feel like that's usually how it works. I was similar. My sister played lacrosse, followed in her footsteps. She never played it in college.
Yep.
But then ended up playing it in college.
That's literally all my best friends, all their older sisters who are all in the same grade. They all played for fun and then just stopped at high school. Once they're done high school, they all stopped. But we all went D1, D2, so it's just funny to see.
Very cool. And then can you tell me a little bit about your story of coming to Penn State? Because I know Big Ten has great field hockey, but also when you think of field hockey, you think of ACC, and it's big time there, UNC, Syracuse.
Yep.
But what brought you to Penn State?
Yeah, so I was being recruited pretty heavily starting in 7th grade-ish. Duke was actually the first school to sit me down in their office and straight up tell me that they wanted me, which was crazy. I was starstruck, awestruck, all of that. It was super cool and super humbling at that age. I just remember looking at my dad and being like, "Oh my God, is this real? This
I know that
crazy.
feeling. I know that feeling.
This is a top D1 program, and at the time they're big school, amazing field hockey program, amazing coaches. So that kind of started reeling me into the college world. And then from there, Penn State's so close to home, and I knew my sister loved it there as a school in general, not anything sports related. So I kind of was familiar with the school itself. There were a few other schools, Syracuse, Maryland, Iowa in there a little bit that I was being recruited by, but I don't know. It always ended up being between Duke and Penn State at the end, and I loved Duke. I loved the program, the school, but it was just too far from home, and I just didn't think I'd fit in there. No hate to them or anything. I personally just wasn't a fit. Penn State, I remember coming on campus doing a 7v7 with my club, Excalibur, and I remember Brian, my former club coach, knew Shar. He knew all the college coaches, but she said to him, who's that little number 4 girl? I was tiny, keep in mind. So small. So ever since then, I was like, oh, wow, she's really interested in me. This is crazy. And I just, my eyes lit up. I was so excited. And ever since then, I created a really good relationship with all the coaches here at Penn State and, kept in contact with them all the time. And they seemed to care more about field hockey, seemed to care more, just about my life in general. And that kind of drew me in a little bit more. And then I was able to come visit Penn State, visit my sister, and without the field hockey aspect, and actually see what Penn State had to offer, not in just the athletic world. And I think that really helped me, narrow my decision down. Sophomore year, I just ended up verbally committing. And
I feel like, so far you are the 5th Penn State student athlete that I've talked to, and just like knowing myself that like every single one of us has like said something about like the atmosphere here and the fact that like we looked at the school besides just athletics, and like we all fell in love with like how great Penn State is, but like athletics like just is that big bonus that we get, and it's like we're like also grateful for it too, which is really cool. 100%. So I always like hearing other people's stories about like how they end up at Penn State because everybody's different. Yeah, no, it's so cool too because all my best friends from home also ended up committing here, so being able to experience that with them is awesome. That's awesome. And then just like you guys won the Big Ten championship this year. You made it to the Final Four, and then that was an amazing season for you guys. And now Shar is retiring. So what like does all of that in this year like mean to you? Because like that's a lot. Like you guys won a Big Ten championship. You made a Final Four appearance. You guys had an amazing season, and like the coach that led you through that isn't going to be here for your last year at Penn State. Yeah, it's hard to, grasp. I think things just all happen so quickly. And Shar said to us when she did retire, she walked in the locker room and told us, I think I'm leaving you guys in a really good spot. And, it's hard to accept that someone you've respected and looked up to your whole life basically is actually leaving. People always said they never thought Shar would leave on her own, so it was kind of crazy even hearing that she was leaving. But I have to agree, she did leave us in a great spot. Our culture is unmatched. We're just so close, and I think this team is just so hungry to go back next season. And with LB now being the head coach, she coached with Shar for 29 years, so nothing. Okay, yes, it changed. Shar's gone, and LB being the coach is definitely new and different, but we always say the standard isn't changing. We know what's expected of us, and so I think that definitely helps us going into next season. It's going to be different. It's going to be a challenge, not having her there, but I think it's something we're all willing to, deal with. But I think our culture, again, it's awesome, and we know how hard we need to work to get to where we left off last season. So. That's really cool. I hope you guys have a great season next year. I'll definitely be rooting for you guys and have to come to some games for sure. But not only like you having like an amazing field hockey career, you've been able to use NIL, name, image, and likeness now to benefit you. You do Leap Hockey, whatever apparel with it, which is a collab with a Penn State student. You have 28.7K followers on TikTok. Wow, go you. But can you tell me a little bit about like your NIL experiences? Because like I feel like this year is the first year that like student athletes have really just dove into it, have a better understanding of it. Our school has taught us a lot about it, but like, can you tell us about like what you have experienced so far with NIL? Yeah. So when NIL first came out, I believe it was after our freshman year. Yeah. So COVID was still kind of, a big deal. So it was, I think it was 2020, 2021. Yes. When they yeah, exactly. It was like right after. Something like that in that time zone. I don't even remember. It's all a blur. But I remember it coming out, and I was very interested in what this would mean. And I think it was really confusing for a lot of people to understand what this meant. And I think when they announced it, I think a lot of schools were like, oh, crap. Like, there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of, legal things that go into it and, compliance and all that. So I think even Penn State, I remember talking to some of the compliance people here, they were like, there is a lot of gray area that we don't even know. So, at first I was a little hesitant because I didn't want to get myself in trouble, with licensing issues and, things like that. I was just very confused. And also, I hadn't created a huge name for myself at that point yet, on social media at least. So I wasn't really sure of what direction I was headed in, really. But once I started, create a following on TikTok especially, I kind of branch myself out a little bit. Leap Hockey was one of the first things that I did, and it's basically, just a virtual
thing that you can sign up for, and you can do virtual sessions. It's almost like a Peloton, but like it's real life on Zoom, and you can just train for 45 minutes. They have it 5 nights a week. So that was really cool, being able to, use my skill and like my actual field hockey talent to something that, I enjoyed. And I have like a brand ambassadorship with TK, which is a stick brand, and Longstreth, which is like my childhood store that I went to since I was very little, started playing
that's
field
awesome.
hockey. So they're awesome. I love them. So just I've realized as I've been going on, there's a lot of, surface level things that you can do, the whole Barstool athlete kind of thing, things that, they don't, it's just not that deep and personable. And so I started to realize I definitely want to do things that mean something to me, and that I'm doing it because I care, and I'm also giving back. Otherwise, it's, what's the point? It's just, I have a lot of other things going on in my life, so it's just like I don't want to do too much. But I've learned to navigate what I like to do and what I don't like to do. So.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about the Whatever Apparel collab with the Penn State student here? Because I have seen a little bit of it, looked into it, and I really just want my audience to know what Whatever Apparel is here at Penn State and the meaning behind it.
Yeah. So this past year in the fall, a girl named Amber Sanchez reached out to me over DM on Instagram, and basically was just like, hey, I have my own, business that I've created during COVID, and, I'm looking to collab with a student athlete. I figured you would be the perfect fit. Just wanted to chat and see your thoughts on this, with NIL being a thing now. And I jumped all over that because, I just thought it was so cool. I checked out her page, and I love personable things. I love that she was a small business and she was doing it on her own, and she's a freshman. So, I applaud her for that in itself. And so, we just kind of chatted. It wasn't super demanding, which was another thing I respected for her. She didn't push me to, make any big decisions right away. She understood I was in my season. So we just kind of took it slow and talked about creating an athletic line that people would like, specifically for the college demographic. My demographic's definitely younger girls, but she wanted, target college since she's now in college, obviously. So we kind of created talked about what a college kid's like, specifically girls, and we were like, okay, we love sets, we love matching leggings.
Yes, we do.
Yes, so I was like, we need to do that if we're going to do anything, like leggings, biker shorts, crop workout shirts, sports bras, that kind of thing. And so basically I just picked a color I liked, a style I liked. She handled all the shipping and ordering and all that, gave me a demo of, what she planned on doing. And I was like, I love this. And so then she let me come up with a design. I can't take credit because I had my friend, shout out Daphne Langdon from Drexel. She's an art major, super awesome. So she came up with a design for me that we used, and she just, Amber steam pressed them all on herself. And yeah, it was just super fun experience.
It looks so cool.
Yeah.
I see it on Instagram, and it just looks cool. Wow, you have kind of
I know,
a
it's like
apparel after
right.
you.
It's weird because it's different than the Gladieux and 3, the merch, which I also that's awesome too for girls that like to come to games and that kind of thing. But I think this was also cool. Just it was different. I wasn't seeing a lot of people do stuff like this. So
yeah, no, that's definitely a really cool NIL stuff. So now that you've explained everything that you do with NIL, how do you do it? Stress management,
Yeah.
How do you manage doing the student athlete, being so good at field hockey, and all of this amazing NIL stuff? Because I know me personally doing all the extra stuff I do, it's crazy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I doing this? But you do it, and you create content every single day. So basically tell me how you do it.
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle, as balancing school, field hockey, social life, and all that. But I found time management one, obviously, just being organized. I always put things in my calendar. There are times where I forget I have an interview or a meeting or something, and it's definitely stressful. But just, learning to be organized definitely always helps, and just keeping track and, knowing what I'm capable of doing. I try not to do too much. I don't want to stress myself out or burn myself out. It's just not worth it at that point. But yeah, no, I also just, with the content aspect on TikTok specifically, I really the great thing is my followers aren't demanding. I'm not some Charlie D'Amelio or Alex Earl who, they're they need content 5 times a day from them. No, but these girls just appreciate when I do posts, and so it kind of takes the pressure off, and things just kind of flow naturally. I'm like, oh, this is a good idea to post this, but I try not to, I need to post this many times a week, this many times a month, and et cetera. I try to, keep it smooth, keep it natural, so then it's just fun for me, and, they can appreciate what I'm doing. So I just try to keep it fun, and, the moment it's not fun anymore, that's when I know I need to take it back a little bit, so.
That's, like, a really good perspective on it, like, just, like, knowing your limits and knowing that, like, I'm doing this because I love it and not because of, like, everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's really cool. And then I always like to kind of end these episodes with, like, what's, like, either, like, one athlete that you look up to or, like, any great advice that you've heard and, like, you would want other people to hear as being, like, a student athlete.
That's a good one. I feel like the athletes I look up to always is changing, but right now I'd have to say I absolutely loved watching Caitlin Clark over this past season of Iowa basketball.
We all did. I will tell you, our team was playing a game when the national championship was happening, and all of us on the sideline was like, how's Caitlin doing?
Yeah.
How's Caitlin doing? And then my coaches were like, you have a game that you guys are playing in right now.
That's hilarious. No, I just, there are so many great athletes. There's Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, all these, GOATs, quote unquote. But Caitlin Clark, being a female athlete during a time, like this is just so refreshing to see that, she's just creating such a pathway for, younger female athletes, and I just love that so much. I saw a statistic, it was like 2.8 million views in one of the games, which broke all NBA records of views, which was just crazy, or something like that.
They broke
that,
no, I know exactly what you're talking about. The, like, national championship game between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark.
It was something like that.
Their game broke the TV record for both NCAA men's and women's basketball viewership.
It was crazy.
Which is insane. It was on ESPN, and then, like, I think it was, like, all-time records for women's basketball, which is insane.
It's insane. But if you go and watch one of her games, it explains why she's amazing. And I think, even the things that I see in comments, people, why is she doing that? Why is she acting that way? And, doing this stuff and, things that guys will do every single game, no matter the level. But as soon as, like, a woman does it, it's like, all right, that's not okay. So I just, like, really appreciate the things she's doing and, changing not just the basketball world, but, the female sports world in general. I just, props to her. She's amazing. So it was really fun to watch her and see her, I don't know if I can swear, but be a badass.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
So, yeah, she was awesome. But advice to younger athletes, I'm pretty sure that's what you asked.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Just, I feel like if I always, whenever I get asked this, I try to think of what to say, and I picture myself talking to my younger self. It's just to continue to do things that you love and, find time for things outside of sports, because there's so much more to life than sports, but just still appreciating everything, that your sport gives you. I can't thank my sport enough for giving me my best friends for life and, bringing me to this amazing school, meeting people like you on the lacrosse team, and it's just been amazing. So, but taking it one day at a time, don't, overdo it. Don't pressure yourself to do things you don't want. You're at the end of the day, you're the one that makes the decisions for your life. So don't let anyone else try to manipulate your decision making. That's all on you.
I love that advice. I think that's great advice, because I feel like we, like, now today, like, talk about, like, as athletes, like, we got to focus on, like, what we love and, like, also understand that, like, we are human. Sports aren't everything.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, all of us play a sport in college because we love that sport.
Yeah.
And, like, it's what we choose to do every day. Like, we choose to step up on the field every day. So I think that's great advice for your younger self and any younger future athletes in college. Well, thank you so much for being here. It was my pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
This was fun.
All right, guys, that is the Athlete Group Chat with Gianna Kataya and Phia Gladieux. Follow her on TikTok and Instagram if you love field hockey. I'll hype you up. And you can catch this podcast on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening and watching. Hope you guys have a great day.